Welcome to the Culture Curators podcast. We're here to share insight, information, and resources to help you become a more effective salon business owner. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about maybe something not super sexy, but they're very, very important, and that's numbers and why numbers matter, which numbers matter, and how and when are you doing profit and loss statements? Are you tracking your team's numbers for their services, their retail, maybe pre-booking? Are you tracking the salon as a whole, their numbers as well? So we're gonna talk about numbers today.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a mathematician to do this. We've created something that we call our scorecard, which makes it really, really simple for goal setting and tracking. But either way, whatever system you use, and I'm sure your software is capable of pumping out as many reports as possible, but a lot of times people ask us, well, what do I like? I could print all these reports, or I can pull up all these reports, but like, what do I do with the actual numbers, and how do I actually analyze them? Which numbers actually make a difference? Which ones should I be paying attention to? And it can be a little bit overwhelming. So we just want to simplify it, break it down to a few really, really easy things that you can keep your eye on throughout a day, a week, a month, and then therefore a year, so that you can see consistent growth in the business.
Right, right. So let's start with the overall business first, and then we'll work down to the service providers. So the overall business, really you should be having a P&L, a profit and loss statement done on a monthly basis. And some of you probably just fell out of your chair, and that's okay. That's wherever you're at is good. But now let's strive for something else. If you're doing it every single month, congratulations, that's awesome. So a P&L is a profit and loss statement. That would mean that either you would have to do it yourself on perhaps QuickBooks or a format like that, or you would have to get all of your numbers to a bookkeeper who would then put it in a QuickBook type of format. And then from there, our clients have our proprietary P&L. And what I love about that is that it gives them goals. So we have a target percentage for each line item in your profit and loss statement. So for example, if you're looking at compensation, which is your highest output of dollars, your percentage for compensation should run 48%. Now that's for everything. That means your service providers, your front desk team if you have that, for your assistants if you have that, your leadership team, all of those numbers at the end of the day should come up to 48% of the total service dollars that are brought in. It's not service and retail. We treat those as two separate entities. And so it's just your service dollars.
Yeah, and I think if you kind of know that on the front end right away, it's like, okay, well, payroll shouldn't exceed over 48% on any of my P&Ls per month. So if you are over 48%, then you can start to at least understand, okay, here's why maybe I'm not having enough cash flow. A huge part right now, my payroll might be at 52%. So you can start to now have the knowledge to then work that back. So you might say, well, I can't just change compensation. It's not like if you told someone what percentage they're getting, you can just change that. No, that's true. But you might need to grandfather those people in and then start the new compensation structure with newer people coming in. Now, what is it that we talk about percentage wise that you shouldn't exceed for your rent?
For rent, we say that it should stay at 5%. So 5% of the service dollars coming in should equal your rent. If you want your rent to be in line, we're looking at 5%. Pretty straightforward. And really the only way that you can change that is one of two ways. You can call your landlord and you can request a reduction in your rent.
Good
And
luck with that one.
yeah, sometimes it happens, but more often than not, it doesn't. But listen, it's already a no if you don't ask, so why not ask? Get bold and ask, because the worst thing they can say is no. Big deal. Then you move on,
I
right?
recently asked. He said no, but it's okay.
It's okay,
I
right?
asked.
You asked, and that's the important part. That's being proactive in your business. That's taking your profit and loss statement and analyzing it and trying to get better from it. And then, the other way to decrease that number is by, of course, increasing your service sales. So maybe it's through promotions, maybe it's through add-on services, maybe having a class with your team. Maybe it's just on gaining new and ideal clients, referrals, whatever it is. But those are really the only two ways that you're going to impact that rent number.
Yeah, another big category for expense is supplies. So that's going to be all your back bar, that's going to be your color. and you don't want to exceed 8% in that scenario. So we just gave you three really important ones from your profit and loss. It's going to be 48% for your payroll, 5% for rent, 8% for supplies, and we itemize every single other category. So when you think of a P&L, it has certain categories like we said, the few I just mentioned, but then also like utilities or taxes or professional fees or whatever the case may be. So also, by the way, if you're listening to this and you own a suite, you need to be doing this also for your suite. It's just different numbers because it might not be as large as maybe, a group of people working in a salon, but there's no difference whether it's a $10 million P&L, whether it's a $5 million P&L or a $100,000 P&L. The numbers are the numbers. And when
Right.
you start to really empower yourself, you get a really big knowledge of, okay, wow, I know exactly what's happening in a business. I see a blueprint every month of what it is. I see a roadmap of it, and you can adjust accordingly.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, once you know the budget, it's up to you to stick to the budget. There's a big difference about knowing that you should be at 8% for your back bar supplies and then adhering to that. And that's where accountability comes in, quite honestly, because we find that most of the time when we look at P&Ls, that area of back bar supplies is high. Sometimes the color alone is only 8%. And so you really have to be diligent. You have to look at that. You have to have your business coach look at that and hold you accountable to those numbers if you want the profitability to be in your salon. It's as simple as that. So every single month when you're doing your ordering, you have to figure out what that budget is. And 8%, for your color, for all of the hair supplies that you need. But it also means your toiletries, your coffee, your tea, beverages, whatever it is that you serve, all of those things have to come in at 8%. It's really important that you realize that. For retail, when you're ordering your retail should be 50%. And when we say 50%, we don't mean 50.5%. We don't mean 48%, although it's okay if it's 48%. It's not okay if it's 50.5%. So if you add that all up, what you want to order, which you should be doing prior to placing the order, and it comes up something other than 50%, you need to make some choices. And that will mean you'll need to take away a product or two products until you get down to that 50%. But it's really your roadmap, it's your guideline to have profit in your salon. And I don't know about you, but when I had my salon, I did want profit. And profit isn't a dirty word. It's not a word that we shouldn't talk about because we all get into business to have some sort of a profit.
Yeah, if you want the business to continue and you put your blood, sweat, and tears, and you deserve a profit, but you have to plan for it. Let's switch gears now. So we've talked about the numbers that are really important on your P&L. Now, within a salon, but also individually, this is going to kind of parallel each other. The numbers that you want to be focusing on when you're talking about goal setting, increasing numbers such as sales, and other just key performance indicators or KPIs that are super important. So I'll start and then I'm going to kick it over to Jill. So the first two kind of most, I think, important as well as kind of the most obvious is service sales and retail sales. You need to be tracking those numbers and setting a daily goal. So you should have a daily goal every day you come into the business. What is the business going to accomplish today in services, and what is the goal for overall retail? Then those two things then translate into what we call the average service bill and the average retail bill. So if you're working with a software, let's say like Forest, that's their terminology. Your terminology in your company might be average service ticket, average per client, but it's the same difference. So all you're doing is you're taking the amount of clients on a given day or a given time period, dividing it by the total service sales. That gives you the average ticket or the average bill. Same thing for retail. So for instance, if the salon saw 50 people in that day and sold $5,000 in services, you take 5,000 divided by 50, that would give you the average service ticket or the average service bill, and same exact thing for retail.
Absolutely. And so when we're looking at KPIs, when we're working with our business code clients, we're looking at what key performance indicators do they want to track in particular on our goal scorecard. So Derek talked about two. He talked about the service, he talked about retail. Some of the other things that people choose to track would be pre-booking or rebooking, however you want to phrase it. It doesn't matter to us. but that means to us that before that client leaves, they have their next appointment booked. And so, again, it's how many clients came in during that time period, and then how many of those clients pre-booked or made their next appointment before they left. You divide it, and then you get a percentage. The other area that we sometimes track is utilization. How busy are you as a service provider? So, how many potential hours of productivity do you have? How many hours were you actually working with a client? Divide those out and you figure out what your productivity level is. And at the very least, if you're in a level system salon, we try to keep things pretty simple. And so when we're looking at utilization, oftentimes that tells us, that's a great indicator to tell us when it's time to promote that service provider. If they have over 80% productivity or utilization rate for 90 days or more, they can sustain a price increase. And so tracking your numbers is really valuable for a lot of different reasons. It's not just to give somebody busy work to do or to see what they're doing, but it's also used as a reward system too.
Absolutely. And I think that, the whole concept of this episode is to keep it really simple as well. This shouldn't I know it can sometimes feel a little bit overwhelming, but when you really think about this and you focus on these really simple categories, whether it's how busy you are, making sure your client has the next appointment, making sure that you're selling retail and really focusing on your retail and your service sales, you're going to create a really phenomenal business, because then you're going to translate that and coach your other team members on how to do that. So we really hope that this episode helped gain some clarity on the numbers you should focus on, why numbers are important, and also what numbers are really a few key numbers and percentages in your P&L. Now, if you are listening to this and you really got some value, or you're watching it on YouTube, comment scorecard below and we'll give you 30-day free access to our scorecard so you can have it, test it out, see what you think, and see what your results can be in a month. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Culture Curators Podcast. Please like, comment, follow, and subscribe.